Georgia's entering week 6 of the college football season. They have a 5-0 record. They're trying to go 6-0 this week when they go on the road at Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium. It's going to be a tough road game for them. You think about it, a lot of the players on the team don't have that much experience. Stetson Bennett, the quarterback, well, the current starter, we're not sure. We'll talk about that later with JT Daniels and Stetson Bennett. But if Stetson Bennett does play, he's never really played in a true road environment. He played on the road last year in some big games, Alabama game. But because of COVID, the stadiums were half capacity, and you don't really get that full effect of a true road game in the SEC. And you think about the freshmen last year who are now sophomores, they never got to experience a true road atmosphere. And obviously the freshmen this year, they've never experienced anything like this. So it's going to be a real test for the team, no matter how good Auburn is or isn't, no matter how elite Georgia is or isn't. It's still going to be a tough game for both offense and defense. They both have some inexperience, especially in the secondary on defense. So it's going to be interesting to see how the team handles it, and we're going to talk about it right now on Dog Football. So Georgia looks like one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team in the country. They're currently 5-0 with 2 wins over top 10 teams, Clemson and Arkansas. Now, they just got done playing Arkansas last Saturday, who were the number 8 ranked team in the country, and it was complete domination. Georgia completely dominated Arkansas. It wasn't even close from the beginning, from the kickoff. There was really no chance for Arkansas to get anything going, right? So we're moving on from Arkansas, and we're going to play Auburn this week. And Auburn is a tough place to play. Jordan-Hare Stadium is a really probably one of one of the toughest atmospheres in college football, definitely in the SEC. It's really hard to play there, and my mind immediately goes back to 2017. Georgia went to Auburn to play in 2017, ranked the number 1 team in the country, undefeated at the time, and they go in there and we get beat, right? We lose 40-17. And Georgia at the time was playing their best football. So it just goes to show you that when you go to play on the road in the SEC, especially at places like Jordan-Hare, it's really hard, no matter how good you are, to win those games because, as we saw this past weekend with Georgia, the fans really do influence, and swing the game, the momentum a little bit, because Arkansas, their first drive, really just couldn't get anything going, and it kind of set the tone for the rest of the day. So it'll be interesting to see how, the players respond playing in an atmosphere like Jordan-Hare, and the fans can get crazy there fast too. So I think Georgia's gonna have to do a good job of maintaining the atmosphere there and getting the lead and getting momentum and keeping it too. You don't want to lose it with stupid penalties or like a special teams play that goes the wrong way or whatnot like that. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the team handles it and plays this weekend at Jordan-Hare. So before we dive into the game too much, I want to cover JT Daniels and his whole thing, right? Because I think his availability is really going to impact the game. Maybe not the score. Maybe not the outcome, who wins or loses, but I think it will impact the score of the game. Now, obviously, JT Daniels didn't play against Arkansas. He's dealing with a lat issue. I think he's been dealing with it for a week and a half to 2 weeks now, and he has an oblique issue. Or he had an oblique issue. So he's not really been healthy. He didn't play that well in the Clemson game, which we kind of assume was because of the injury. And he didn't play against UAB, which allowed Stetson Bennett to get some reps, which was just probably helping now that he's hurt again. He came back, played against South Carolina, and then we went to play at Vanderbilt, only played a quarter, and so we haven't really seen that much of JT Daniels this year, but when he is playing, besides the Clemson game, which he was hurt, when he does play, it's pretty obvious that he is the leader of the team, and he really controls the offense at a much higher level than Stetson Bennett does. And it's obvious, too, the coaching staff has a lot of trust in him, a lot more trust in Stetson Bennett. Not that they don't have trust in Stetson, but, JT Daniels just has a higher football IQ, and he's just a better quarterback in general. He has a better arm. He's just a better quarterback, and you can really see it on the field, too. Now, if you watch the Arkansas game, it was pretty obvious that the passing game kind of had a drop off there. A lot of it had to do with Arkansas's defense. They usually drop 8 and rushed 3. So that had a lot. That had a lot to do with it, but I also think it had a lot to do with trust in Stetson Bennett. Now Stetson Bennett, he makes good decisions. Sometimes he makes bad decisions. He's just kind of like, you don't know which version of Stetson. You could get the UAB version of Stetson, or you could get the version of Stetson where he throws like 3 interceptions in a game. So it's really, you don't really know what you're going to get with him. And so I think that they factor that in with the game plan. And obviously with Arkansas's defense, it makes it easy to run the ball. And you saw against Arkansas, the running game was the focal point of the game plan, and the passing game kind of took the back seat. Now, there was a couple good plays there. There was like a wheel route to Kenny McIntosh and a couple passes to Lab McConkey, but there wasn't too much going on in the passing game. And it makes you wonder, if we go into Auburn and Georgia decides to do kind of the similar thing where they run the ball, like run heavy, and Auburn's able to stop us, and we're not really getting a lot of yards rushing the ball, and there's not a lot of like momentum building. There's not a lot of like fluent drives, and it's like the offense is kind of sputtering. It makes you wonder, can Stetson Bennett beat a team on the road like Auburn with his arm? It makes you wonder. We've seen JT Daniels do it against Cincinnati. He had a last-second drive that set up a field goal to beat Cincinnati. We've seen him in close games against Mississippi State. He has a lot of experience in big-time moments, and he's just a better quarterback in general. And so, if it came down to Stetson and JT, the obvious answer would be you want JT Daniels to lead your team. But if JT Daniels can't go this weekend, you're going to have to depend on Stetson Bennett a little bit. You can't just depend on the run game. Stetson Bennett's going to have to make some good decisions this weekend, some good throws. And it's going to be difficult on the road if that place is loud and it's hard to hear and you kind of get rattled, the nerves are there. I expect there to be some mistakes, but Stetson's going to have to play probably one of the best games of his career this weekend. Now, the Georgia defense is going to keep Georgia in the game no matter what. No matter how bad the offense looks, I feel like this game is going to be close at the end no matter what. If the offense is doing bad, if the offense can get going, it's not going to be close at all. If the offense is able to get like a 2-touchdown lead, it's over at that point. Because I just don't see how Auburn's like, they're playing good, they're playing bad. They're just inconsistent. So I don't really see how Auburn can challenge the Georgia defense, who just held Arkansas, who was averaging on close to 500 yards per game. It was like 480 yards per game total offense. And Georgia held them to like 167 total yards in the game. So Georgia's defense is elite. And, it just makes you wonder, though. This is just like something to kind of think about. If the game does come down to quarterback play, can Stetson Bennett outplay Bo Nix, and can he lead Georgia to a victory on the road in the SEC? All right, so I have 3 keys to the game, but before I get into that, I kind of want to touch on some statistics and some different things. And now, I think that this game is going to come down probably to Auburn's offense versus Georgia's defense, and I think Georgia is probably going to have an easier time moving the ball on Auburn than Auburn is going to have moving it on Georgia's defense. And one key thing to keep an eye out for is Auburn's rushing attack. So Georgia's rush defense is 4th in the country, only allowing 68.6 yards per game, 2.29 yards per carry, and they've only allowed 343 rushing yards this year. And that's elite. That's an elite defense right there. Auburn's running game ranks 12th in the country with 238.2 yards per game, 6.81 yards per rush, and 1,191 yards rushing total this year. Which this leads me to my first key to the game. Can Auburn run the football? And if not, I don't see how Auburn has a chance to beat Georgia. They have Bo Nix as their quarterback, and they have TJ Finley too, came in against, I think it was Georgia State or Georgia Southern, one of those two. But Bo Nix, he's a good quarterback, but he's not an elite quarterback, right? He has some elite athletic abilities, like being able to extend plays. He has some really impressive, highlights in his career where he's extended plays and kept a drive alive. He can do things like that, but he also makes really stupid decisions. If you watch him, you're just like, what is he doing? But then you watch him again, it's like, wow, this dude is really good. So he's very inconsistent. And if you have to put the ball in his hands to win a game, I just don't see how he can do it against this defense, right? It's just not going to happen. And in order for Auburn to be able to beat us, they're going to have to be able to rush the ball. And, they have two really good running backs. They have Hunter and Tank Bigsby. Hunter, I think, is a freshman. Tank Bigsby, I think, is a sophomore. Both probably two of the best running backs in the SEC, if not in the country. They have a really good rushing attack, as I said. They rank 12th in the country in rushing. So, I mean, they're very good. They're very good running the ball. So it's just going to be interesting to see if Georgia's defense can stop their rushing game. They did it against Arkansas, but they're going to have to do it again. You can't live off last week's, accomplishments in order to beat Auburn. You have to do it again. They're going to have to do it again, which I think they will. My second key to the game is I think Stetson Bennett has to make good decisions with the football, right? Stetson cannot be throwing interceptions this game. He's going to have to make great decisions. And, in a game like this, when you're on the road, especially in the SEC at Auburn, at Jordan-Hare, you can't make silly turnovers because things like that can really swing momentum, especially when you're not home, playing on the road. If you throw an interception and it's like a pick six or something, that swings momentum like that, right? Let's say Georgia is struggling on offense this week, and Georgia's defense is holding them. Georgia's defense holds Auburn to just 7 points, right? Georgia has only 13. They get a pick six. Auburn's up 14-13 right there. So you have to be really careful, and I think he's going to have to make great decisions in order to beat Auburn. And, he's going to be able to lean on the running back and the defense a lot. I think it's going to have to be one of those games where it's kind of like complimentary football. Everyone's going to have to help each other out and Georgia can do that easily. I think they've shown that they can beat teams any way they want to, against Vandy or, other teams, South Carolina, whatever. They're able to beat them in the air, and then Arkansas, they beat them on the ground. Georgia can do it either way. Against Clemson, it's a really close game, pick six, and Georgia wins 10-3. They're willing to grind it out however they have to win games. That's one thing about Georgia I think they have an advantage on is they're willing to do anything they can to win. And I think it's just going to have to be one of those games where it's just a team win. And it's not going to be one guy has a standout performance. I don't think. There's going to be a lot of guys I think have good games, but I don't think there's going to be one guy that you can lean on. It's just going to be a win, a team win where everyone just kind of contributes in their own way and helps the team win against Auburn. My third key to the game is I have Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, and Jermaine Burton. I think all three of those guys have to make plays, and the receiving core is already thin, right? And, Arian Smith is hurt, Rosemy Jack-Saint, Pickens, Blaylock, Harris Jackson to some extent. You have all these guys that are injured, and it really makes it hard for the receiving core to get some chemistry with the quarterback. They've done a good job so far, especially with Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. But as I was talking about earlier, these guys have never played in an atmosphere like this, so you don't know how they're really going to respond. That goes for Jermaine Burton too, and he's one of our top receivers. So he's going to have now he's had experience playing in the SEC, so he obviously is going to have more experience than Ladd McConkey and whatnot. And that Clemson game really probably helped these guys the most with being able to be prepared for a game like this. They kind of know they played on the stage. So that aspect of it, I'm not too worried about being on the big stage. They've already done it. Played last week against top 10 team, Arkansas, and won. But it's totally different when you're playing on the road, a true road atmosphere. It's totally different. And so I think those guys are really going to have to perform at a top level. And it's going to be interesting to see how those guys handle it. And if they handle it well, then Georgia, I think, is going to win convincingly. So I have Georgia winning this game 35-13. I think Auburn's going to be able to do enough to get some points on the board. I don't know if that's going to be an explosive play that kind of catches Georgia off guard, or if it's going to be they have a good rushing attack and Bigsby gets on there and scores. I don't know how it's going to be, but I do think they get some points, but I think Georgia's going to be able to pull away, I think Stetson's going to make enough plays. I think the running backs are going to make enough plays. I think maybe a special teams turnover or an interception that sets Georgia up close to the goal line, something like that. I think that's gonna be one of those games where you kind of have that one play, it kind of swings momentum and whatnot. But it'll be fun to watch. Auburn Georgia is always a fun game. It's always a good rivalry. Deep South's oldest rivalry, so it'll be a good game. Hopefully, I think I'm probably gonna put out another video this week, maybe my final thoughts on Friday before the game. if JT Daniels is starting or whatnot. If we have more information, I'll probably put a video out and then upload that for you guys before the game on Saturday. But thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, hit the bell, be notified, and see you next time on Dog Football.